Hello everyone, we are back in the studio and I am going to talk today about the Georgian opera. I was intending to speak about Georgian classical music on the whole, but then I realized that it's a vast subject and I decided to just break it down into opera first and then maybe I'll talk to you about orchestral music. Now, the topic of Georgian opera is an area which is obviously and most undeniably a territory where Georgian culture meets and embraces European cultural values. Sorry. First introduction to opera in Georgia happened in the 19th century when, after Georgia was united with Russia and annexed by Russia, Russian government began to bring here European culture. And they brought some Italian opera singers. Eventually, an opera house was built in Tbilisi. So Italian opera became so popular in Tbilisi, in Georgia, that historians say that even little boys at grocery stores who were selling goods, even they kept singing and humming the tunes from Rigoletto arias and famous Italian operas. However, there was no sign of the emergence of Georgian opera as such. Georgian opera singers began to sing Italian operas and Western operas, but we didn't have that time our own. In the end of the 19th century, about 1886, there was a concert at Tbilisi Opera House. And the concert was for Georgian music, meaning Georgian folk songs mainly. And this stage performance was so breathtaking that Ilya Javjavadze, a famous writer and a public figure, we probably remember I mentioned him a few times, he famously said, "I could smell the scent of Georgian opera at that performance." Since then, Georgian composers didn't spare their efforts to make his wish famous, to make his wish come true. In the end of the 19th century, in 1896, Melidon Balanchivadze, who was studying at in St. Petersburg that time, he performed the first act of, let's say, the first attempt of a Georgian opera called Tamar the Deceitful, which later was transformed into the full opera with a different name, Dareja the Deceitful. However, it was just the first attempt and it didn't happen in Georgia. It was done in Russia, in Russian language. Well, probably in Russian language because it was for Russians at that time. And only in 1926 it was performed in Georgia with the name Dareja the Deceitful. Meanwhile, the very first Georgian opera sung in Georgian language was the opera Christine, composed by Revaz Gogniashvili, which was staged and performed in 1918. It was very controversial that time, because all the operas which were sung at the opera house in Tbilisi were sung in Russian. So, when we speak about this union with Russia and in the beginning, let's say, that when King Eregle, let's say much earlier, decided to unite us with Russia, his intention was actually good. And in the beginning, it kind of was for us a doorway to Europe, being united with Russia. However, this happened at the cost of almost erasing our national identity. So yes, in Western Europe could come through Russia to us and European culture. But we, Georgians, had to be presented to Westerners, to Europeans as Russians and just part of Russia. So our identity was not important. It was more like Russian singing from Georgia, Russian art from Georgia, but not as a Georgian art, not as a Georgian culture itself. So the first attempt of performing Georgian opera in Georgian language was introduced by a man, Revas Gogniashvili, who actually studied in Paris. And he was very much taken by this idea of bringing Western cultural values and transplanting them into a Georgian soil. So kind of to adjust and adapt these two different cultural values and different cultural expressions, let's say. So in the end, it was a success. However, this transcript of the sheet music of Christine was lost. We don't know why and how. And only very, very recently it was discovered and found by some musicologists and music historians. So Christine is not usually performed at Georgian Opera House anymore. Well, maybe it is going to be performed in the future, but it hasn't been until now. The year after, the year later, in 1919, 3 great operas were staged at the Opera House in Tbilisi. All these 3 were totally and utterly different from one another. One was the legend about Shota Rustaveli by Dimitri Araghishvili. The other one was Abesalom Daeteri by Zakaria Paliashvili, and the third one was Keto and Gode. These 3 differed completely and utterly from each other. And therefore that year was more like kind of glorious introduction to Georgian opera, new Georgian opera, which influenced the Georgian art and Georgian music for decades and decades later. I want you to hear first the legend about an aria from the opera Legend about Shota Rustaveli. Can we hear the first video, please? Or can we see?
Rad
Well, this is only our audio recording, not the video performance, I'm afraid. This opera, it was successful. I wouldn't say that it wasn't successful, but it's less popular today. And one of the reasons, they say, was the libretto itself, that libretto was very weak. The legend itself was taken by a Svanetian legend about the life and this kind of love story from Rustaveli's life. Well, it's maybe a fiction. It's not. It's just a legend. It's not a true story, of course. But the music itself was marvelous. It was beautiful, and everybody liked it, except that the libretto was a kind of problem. So this opera is less known and less popular, I would say. Speaking about Absalom and Eteri, sorry, by Zakaria Paliashvili. It was the first opera by Zakaria Paliashvili, and I wouldn't tell you the plot and the libretto of it because it's going to take us too long. It's a drama, and it kind of brings in this Georgian polyphony and Georgian elements into this Western influenced or Western inspired artistic technique of composing opera. However, speaking of national elements and Georgianness, I would say that it's even much stronger in Daisy, which I'm going to show you later. So first, let's see the duet from the opera Absalom and Eteri, and it's a duet of Murman and Absalom. It's two men, kind of rivals, singing together. Can we hear the second video, please?
Sashisha Santeri Sasa Kondix Tasa Mola Unda Boservese Orbisas Sashi Shasam Berisas, Conquistas, and Orbisas, Tuga Pende di Maneo,
Actually, this particular version, which is recorded in this video, it's sung by Alexandre Homeriki, who was my neighbor. We lived in the same block of flats, and he was an absolutely wonderful person. I mean, apart from his being a wonderful tenor, very, very good opera singer. Another very famous, well, I picked the most iconic, the most famous arias from these operas, so that I want to encourage you to want to hear more from the Georgian opera. So the other one is kind of duet of Absalom and Eteri, which in the end develops and extends into a quartet. Can we hear this, please? It's a beautiful tune, which is, I mean, lyrics in this video, which we just heard. Lyrics is almost just one phrase, nothing special, you know, just one phrase keeps circulating over and over and over. But the music develops into not a different tune, but it kind of changes the register, it changes the mood. It kind of it does go on forever almost, but it's never boring. It's so lyrical and so beautiful, I would say. So Zakaria Paliashvili is known as the father of Georgian opera. Basically, it's because of his tendency and his skill, his amazing skill of introducing Georgian culture into the shape and apparel of Western opera, form of Western opera. The other very notable one is Daisy, opera Daisy, and I'm not going to tell you the plot of this opera, but all I can tell you about this is that it's very, very diverse itself, within itself. The theme is patriotic. There is also a drama. There is also some kind of feasts celebrating this Georgian wine and Georgian traditions, customs. There is a lot going on in this opera. So can we hear the first aria by, it's not the first aria, it's actually kind of, it comes in the very end, this Kiazos aria, but when you listen to this aria, it includes the tune which was later taken as a Georgian national anthem, which we have and which we sing now as a national anthem, and it was kind of adapted to the version of more singable, let's say, for public, not just a kind of opera version. Can we see this video, please? Thank you. I want to focus on this Daisy further. As I already told you, there is a lot going on in this opera. There is a kind of festive mood, there is sad mood, there is celebrating kind of different things, there is a kind of melodramatic things going on. Now, the other one is this, actually I forgot to tell you that the main character in this opera, Daisy, is Maro. And the reason why the Paliashvili wanted to call her Maro was that he wanted to dedicate it to the memory of Maro Magashvili, who was a Georgian hero who actually died in the same year, it's the same year when Paliashvili began to work on this opera. She died in 1921. She was killed by the Red Army because she was participating in this riot against the invasion of Red Army, and she is the first Georgian woman who was awarded the award of a national hero. So it's not a coincidence that Zakaria Paliashvili, who was so patriotically minded, he wanted to dedicate his probably best opera, let's say, to the memory of the national hero. Now, the second aria I want to show you is this very sad aria by Malchaz. Can we hear this Malchaz's aria, please? You probably noticed that I'm very much taken by this Daisy. It's probably one of my favorites, favorite operas. The third video I want to take from this opera again, and you probably noticed that I'm taking different performers. I'm trying to wherever it is possible, because I want to also to introduce you to Georgian performers who are not less worth appreciating than composers and the operas in themselves, because Georgian performers, art performers, are quite famous abroad, lots of them, and this particular one is, I can't remember who is it. Anyway, the third video from this opera, which is celebrating the Georgian wine, it's kind of toasting to Georgian wine. Can we hear that song, please? In all the Paliashvili's music, you can hear almost the sound of this passion for admiration for his own culture, which he is desperately trying to make worldwide. That is the reason why he's trying to clothe it in the form which is not bound to Georgia only. So this operatic performance, let's say, it kind of enables composer to put his own into the way which is going to be accessible to worldwide public. And if you remember, I kept telling you that Georgians have this amazing ability to adopt foreign influences and translate them into their own, to adjust and adapt to their own cultural values. And this is one of the examples what Paliashvili has done very, very successfully. The other one I want to show you, just one more aria from Paliashvili's La Davra. It's his third opera, which was performed in 1927, I think. And it's not as famous as the previous two, but it's still nevertheless very, very important work. Can we hear this third video, please? So the same year, Opera House hosted another great composer who performed something completely different. He performed a comedy. It was an opera, but it was more like happy kind of opera, which presented urban city life and kind of made a mockery of some classes, let's say. It is a beautiful, wonderful, amazing, fantastic opera. And when people say, some people sometimes believe in aesthetics, there is a lot of conversation, debate about this idea that tragedies perform better artistic values than comedies. But I'm sure that Viktor Dolidze, who was a great, great Georgian composer, he definitely proved it wrong. Because this comedy is absolutely marvelous and very deep and thoughtful. It's not just a comedy just to kind of make us laugh, but it has more profundity of this urban relationships, and also it brings this urban culture and portrays what the life in Tbilisi was like at the turn of the 20th century. Can we hear this 8th video, which is Aria of Kote? So this opera, Keto and Kote, is very often broken down into pieces, because all of these pieces from this opera are so beautiful that sometimes they are played by the orchestra even without singing. Like, I want to show you a video which displays our famous conductor, Georgian Opera, who was an amazing person, and he was actually my dad's very good friend, and they did lots of good things in education projects together. And he was a real genius. He was a composer himself, he was a singer himself, but he was a great conductor. And Georgian Opera is performing this piece from Keto da Gode. Can we hear that? Now, apart from opera, this Western type of singing in Georgia also influenced another and kind of produced, let's say, another type of singing, which was very, very widespread in Russia too. It was a type of romance, which was neither opera nor just a pop song. I wouldn't call them a pop song. It was more like kind of opera version of just a beautiful song. We had this very famous singer, Vano Sarajishvili, who was called the Georgia's Nightingale, and he was singing so beautifully that composers were delighted to have him in their operas, performing their operas. Can we hear this 10th video, which is sung by Vano Sarajishvili? Actually, this version of this particular song is in opera style, but I can tell you that the same song is very often sung these days in different styles. Some of them are pop songs, sometimes it's sung as at Georgian feasts at a table on guitars. So it can be kind of experienced in different ways. Now, speaking of modern Georgian opera, I wanted to select just one particular type, particular example. We had this very famous Georgian composer, Georgian, who lived abroad. He left the Soviet Union quite a long ago. He passed away a few years back now. And his songs, even when he wrote Georgian songs, they were always permitted with this Western European flavor. There was something very, very distinctly European and Georgian at the same time, which gave it kind of almost an intelligent feeling or something like that, you know, some kind of very special expression. And Georgian wrote only one opera, composed just one opera, which is called, well, they say if you Google it up, it says Music for the Living, but I would probably translate it more like "and there is music," or even more beautifully it would be put something like "let there be music." To be honest, I haven't seen this performance myself. I don't know much about it personally. I only have heard about it a lot, and I have heard bits and pieces from it, and I want to share just one piece from it with you. Can we hear that? Now, speaking about Georgian opera, I don't know whether I gave you sufficient information about it or not. I'm myself not an expert in music, and probably you realize that, that I'm not an expert. And unfortunately, when I'm looking around to find some experts to bring here as guests, there is always this problem with speaking in English, but I might do something about it when it comes to orchestral music. Just kind of Georgian classical music. I shall do my best to find someone, a decent expert. However, I wanted to bring you these pieces from Georgian operas which would interest you and which would awaken your interest in finding out more about it. So I hope you liked this today's session, and if you did, please don't forget to press the like and subscribe buttons. Thank you very, very much. We'll meet again soon. Goodbye.